You know what? In my opinion, I don't think Trump should be so easy to dismiss someone that's been in his corner and that has been loyal. There's not a lot of that going around when it comes to Trump. Most people are waiting for the chance to stab him in the back, stab him in the front. But here he has someone like Kristi Noem who has been loyal, who's adored him. And, you know, the reason they put women in certain positions is because it's very hard to get them caught up in a scandally sex, scandal or whatever because they're women. Usually it's men that are, using their position of power, their money, and they're having their way because, we're men. It's rare to see women in this position. And then comes her. In my opinion, it's petty. And there's really no proof. There's no video of them messing around. I don't know why she didn't, either deny it or I don't know. Maybe she has feelings for the guy. But that's how marriages work. She's been married to the same guy for 34 years. Obviously, they probably have separate lives. They probably sleep in separate rooms. It happens. That's how it goes. You guys are married at first. You guys are still married, but you kind of drift apart. And then when you get older and one of you guys gets sick, you guys kind of come back together. And then you more so just be caregivers for each other until you die. In this situation, now it's like a public thing. They're saying there's another scandal about her funneling money to one of her friends' LLC. My point is, we have such much more important things going on right now that are serious. You don't need to show that there are weaknesses in your armor, kinks in your chain. This is something that could have been dealt with later. Not while we're in a fucking war. Okay. So in my opinion, this was petty, but we're going to go ahead and, dive into it and see what they're saying.
Embattled Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem confronted over allegations she's having a sexual relationship with former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski, who serves as an unconfirmed special governmental employee.
I mean, come on, look at that Playboy. She stood no chance. Come on, man. She's seen those pictures. She's bored with her husband. She's still hot as shit. So it's kind of carnal. I don't understand why their sex lives have anything to do with the job. Sure, fraternization is against policy. But what does that have to do with we're in a war right now and none of this is really pertinent?
Wait.
Have you had sexual relations with Corey Lewandowski?
Mr. Chairman, I am shocked that we're going down and peddling tabloid garbage in this committee.
No, offended by the question, but never directly answering it.
I really think you need to say the word no into the record so that you can clear that up.
I think the ridiculousness of this and the tabloids that you are quoting and referencing are insane. And this has been
so that's a no.
Thing that I've
Yeah, that's the problem. If you come out and you address some of these allegations directly, you add fuel to the allegations and you make them, you turn them into real life. She's right. They are tabloid. There's no evidence. There's no proof. And it's like, why even acknowledge it? It's not even something that's like somebody getting on the internet and they bring me before the House committee and they say, Rico, you're gay. We heard that you were tongue kissing some guy named Juanito. He's one of the chefs that works in the kitchen. And I get up there and I'm like, no, I never tongue kissed Juanito. It's like, I wouldn't even, I'm like, listen, the bullshit rumors and all the made fake of stuff, it's beneath me. I don't see the point of addressing it because then I would have to address every single petty allegation that comes out. You hate my boss. You hate me because of my job that I'm doing. It's just a waste of time and it's circular. There's no answer that's going to suffice. Whether she says no, yes, maybe, kind of, it doesn't matter. So there is a strategy where you don't really want to feed into the rumors. You don't want to feed into it because it's beneath you and it's utter nonsense. And if you do feed into it, then you have to feed into all of them every time something comes up. And that's exhausting.
refuted for years, and I continue to do that.
Noem also forced to defend the department's $200 million ad campaign with the secretary as the star.
You budgeted an astonishing $220 million for media consultant contracts so you can star in self-promoting photo shoots in lavish ad campaigns.
The secretary also cornered on NBC News' reporting over her seeking approval for the purchase of a $70 million luxury jet with taxpayer funds. The DHS says the plane was intended to save taxpayer money.
Wouldn't it have been cheaper just to buy a deportation plane in the first place?
Democrats accusing her of steering more than $140 million to a marketing company with a tie to her political apparatus. Something Noem.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're not going to listen to Democrats criticize us on spending until we get a check for something of that, I don't know, $500 billion that we sent to the Ukraine through the Democrats under Biden, and they even removed all the safeguards where there would be an audit. We have no idea where the money went, who it went to, for what was purchased. We have no clue, no auditing. But now these are Democrats who are so concerned about fiscal responsibility. Since when? Yes, is she starring in these commercials? She's probably one of the best looking people in the administration. I think she should. If she has a message to convey with her position, this would make sense. Obviously, the government's going to be overcharged for everything. What, $5,000 for a toilet seat? It comes as par for the course. You can't use just any and every agency. There's a lot of, you have to be very selective who you work with. If they have their own people in-house who they're going to work with, their price is their price. You really can't outsource all this work because there's a lot of liberals and there's a lot of people who are sympathetic to the illegals and to the globalists who want to destroy the country, and they're anti-American. Imagine you hire one of their firms and one of their little underlings sabotages your project, or they add some words in there on purpose to kind of embarrass the administration. So we have to be very selective on who we go through in the first place. Expecting her to not be able to spend money or to see the future, that's unreasonable and unrealistic. Again, when the allegations are so flimsy and can be explained away, I don't understand why Trump would be so quick to side with the Dems and to fire her. This is something that should have taken time to look into, but this is not the time. We're in a war right now with another country, and he needs all the allies in government that he can get. We can't afford to just get rid of people like Kristi Noem. We need her.
Defend it.
Was it all done correctly?
14 billion impressions from that marketing campaign.
Sure.
It was money spent in this country and in 8 different countries that.
And that's another good point. She actually did not outsource this like the Democrats would to a Canadian or to a Japanese firm. It was in 14 billion impressions off that campaign. I actually seen that campaign. I believe I was at the airport and I seen it for a second. I glanced at it, but it was all done domestically. That means, unlike the Democrats, our dollars were cycled in America to American citizens and American business owners. A lot of people can't say that. So there are benefits from how she did it.
Legal migration was coming from.
Madam Secretary,
overwhelmingly effective.
We all understand the argument that you've made.
And Ryan, it's busy there tonight on Capitol Hill. There is late news about a subpoena for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Tom, that's right. The House Oversight Committee has requested that Bondi appear for a deposition to answer questions about her department's release of the Epstein files. 5 Republicans joining 19 Democrats.
Fuck these Democrats and the Republicans. That's why we're MAGA. We're not Democrats or Republicans. We're a hybrid of a Make America Great, America First, a completely separate movement. The Democrats and Republicans at this point are just a uniparty. They're not even they're basically relics of an old America that we're trying to trash. We're trying to get rid of them. They don't serve a purpose going into the future. The fact that there's are Democrats and Republicans that are basically now trying to turn on Pam Bondi, that's pathetic. Again, it's showing that there are weaknesses in the administration. We have to show a unified front. This is not the time to give in to these leftists.
Democrats in voting for the subpoena. There's no word on when that deposition will happen.
So Donald Trump has actually done it. He just fired Kristi Noem, his Department of Homeland Security secretary. This is notable. It is his first cabinet secretary that he has fired here in his second term. And he says that he is replacing her with Oklahoma Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen came after 48 hours of congressional hearings, and she potentially didn't help her cause when she seemingly undercut Donald Trump by throwing him under the bus by suggesting that he approved a $220 million ad campaign to go on TV across the country with her face on it.
Why do I love these wide open spaces? They remind me of why our forefathers came here, not just for its beauty, but for the freedom only America provides. I'm Kristi Noem.
The president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly, worked with OMB. Yes.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this exchange with a Republican senator from North Carolina who brought up,
in my opinion, because of the situation we're in with the administration, if she says that Trump said that he approved of me spending this money, Trump should have said, yes, we spend money on all types of different things. He should have, he turned on her over $220 million when we have a way bigger fish to fry and way more important things. He could have reprimanded her behind the scenes or dealt with her later, but to publicly humiliate her in the administration and ultimately himself, because now it makes it appear like he has bad judgment. This is what they need. They are going to pounce all over this. The same people who authorized all the money to go to the Ukraine, they authorized the vaccine mandates, the mask mandates, all those billions of dollars spent on masks and all this other PPP equipment that is now filling up landfills, killing sea life in the ocean because it's just basically floating on trash bins everywhere. Those same people are now lecturing you about spending, not because they care about the money. It's because they're just looking for reasons to tear you apart. It's nothing to do with the money. They just want power. They're losing their power. Well, they've lost their power and they're scared because there's no place for them in politics anymore. If you look at the composition of the left right now, it's mainly gays and blacks. If you look at the women who are yelling at Kristi Noem and threatening her, threatening Pam Bondi, there are lesbian women who are in politics, and then there's blacks. That's it. The illegals that the left depends on, the blacks and the gays, they depend on illegals to illegally vote. That's over. And we're going to have voter ID to vote. So that's not a thing anymore. There's not enough blacks and gays to even maintain something that you might even call a party. It's not. This country will be a Christian conservative nation once again. We have an issue in New York that we're going to have to eventually deal with. However, the rest of the states will fall in line. We have Republican leadership returning to California, and the other southern states are starting to align ideologically with Texas. So things are looking good. However, there's no need to sacrifice loyal people in your administration who you handpicked because, again, it makes you look incompetent, like you have bad judgment. This could have been handled completely differently. There was no need to serve her up on a platter to the left. This is unnecessary, ridiculous, in my opinion.
a story that she told in her book once about killing a 14-month-old puppy. Take a listen.
You decided to kill that dog because you had not invested the appropriate time in training, and then you have the audacity to go into a book and say it's a leadership lesson about tough choices. Those are bad decisions made in the heat of the moment, not unlike what happened up in Minneapolis.
And then, Chris,
why are you bringing up Minneapolis? You want to bring up Renee Good and what's the other guy, Petty? Two domestic terrorists who wanted to harm law enforcement, who took classes on how to obstruct and break the law. That's your example. That's what you're mad at because you have nothing else. If they had something of substance, they wouldn't have to refer back to criminals. They would not need to refer to people who were breaking the law to prove their point. They don't have anything. Why are we giving them anything? You know, this comes down to Trump needs to learn about loyalty as well. You can't just turn on your own people. If anything, again, this could have been handled behind the scenes. If she has a sex life, if she, paid for a commercial, Were there benefits to the commercial? Well, then what's there to complain about? You can't let the Democrats all of a sudden start nitpicking everything, because they will. And then they're going to bring you before these hearings because they know you're going to cave and turn on your own people when there's just a little bit of pressure. That's a bad sign for someone like Trump, who's in a really peculiar situation right now in the war. And when they try to bring up more skin, now that they know that you're turning your own people, they're going to start bringing up stuff about Hegseth. They're going to bring up stuff about Rubio. They're going to dig. They're going to find anything petty that they can. We have to show a united front. And this is where Trump screwed up.
Kristi Noem this week also came under intense scrutiny when she was directly asked about her alleged affair with Corey Lewandowski, who was Donald Trump's campaign manager.
No, trust me. I want to change the subject. I hate talking about gossip, especially sex stuff. I don't want to salacious bullshit. But this is all over the news. Kristi Noem was a part of the administration, a hand-picked woman for the Department of Homeland Security. I don't understand why it was necessary to remove her. These allegations are not that serious. These are not. There's been way worse done by people, and they were able to keep their jobs. For Christ's sake, under the Biden administration, you had a guy that looked like Matt Damon that was stealing luggage from women in airports and wearing their fucking clothes to press conferences. Even he wasn't immediately fired. Matt Damon or his twin. It's crazy. The guy in the administration for Biden, the gay dude that looked like Matt Damon, he looked more like Matt Damon than the guy wearing the mask that pretended to be Jim Carrey looks like Jim Carrey. That's a crazy, I don't know. That's another, we can talk about that another time. But look up the guy that looked like Matt Damon in the Biden administration. Even Biden didn't immediately turn on him, and he was stealing shit. So like a direct criminal, a career criminal, he was doing this a lot. They kept him around. They gave him the benefit of the doubt. They gave him the benefit of doubt for a while too. But we can't be so quick to turn on our own people. It's not like we have a lot of us. We don't. We're fighting an uphill battle from people that are desperate, very desperate to remain in power, and they'll say and do anything. They're morally inconsistent. That's why they're applying standards to you that they don't apply to themselves. So again, I hate talking about this, but Kristi Noem being fired by Trump, it's upsetting, in my opinion.
At one point, and is an advisor at
Yeah, now, well, of course, she is the first of many to come. If you show that, if you get, now the Democrats have a barometer to know how much pressure is going to be required to get Trump to cave on his own people. Now they know. If Trump would have just ignored this and stayed the course, then they would have said, okay, this isn't going to work. The next plan's not going to work. We got to give up, or we got to do something else. But this is huge, and it's completely pointless. This does nothing to help our cause at all.
DHS, she didn't deny it completely, just she said this.
Secretary Noem, at any time during your tenure as Director of Department of Homeland Security, have you had sexual relations with Corey Lewandowski?
That's a personal question. That's her private business. It's not anything that should be discussed by these people in Congress. They have no proof, no evidence. There's no video. So, and it's not like the guy saying he's a victim and he's underage. So what the hell are we even talking about these married people's personal lives for when there's no proof? It's like you're just throwing stuff out there. I don't know where that came from, but it's apparently tabloid rumors. The reason this is important to bring up is because we have to keep in mind that this is now going to be repeated across the board. People are even in the chat saying Pam Bondi is next. Everyone's going to be next because now they finally figured out how to get Trump's administration to splinter, how to get Trump to turn against his own people. That's a bad precedent to set from what I can tell. That's a horrible precedent. You have to stay strong. You have to defend your people unless they are just outright dead wrong. But something like this it's the waters are muddy at best. Nothing solid. This was not something to justify splintering the administration when we have so much pressure and eyes on us every single day. You have to stay the course. You have to remain solid, and you have to be loyal to your handpicked people. It's not like there's a line down the street of people who Trump can trust. There's not. Let's be honest, there's not. Yes, somos pocos pero locos, okay? But the thing is, less is more, I guess. And, how many people are willing to do the right thing and sacrifice themselves? I mean, again, there's not very many. So that's why I wanted to report on this, because this needs to be a lesson, because going forward, we have to also make sure we're loyal to our friends, because good friends are hard to come by. And that's going to be a lesson Trump's going to learn the hard way. People are going to now think that Trump's not loyal. People are going to be less likely to want to stick their necks out for Trump, because if they get their neck sliced off, is Trump going to be there to protect them? Is he going to, save them or put his career on the line for help them? After seeing something like this, that makes me question what Trump's going to do when push comes to shove next time. And that's why we have to report on this.
Mr. Chairman, I am shocked that we're going down and peddling
No, you really don't want the Epstein files, because that's going to be even worse for Trump. The reason it's going to be worse for Trump is because of warp speed. They're going to say that Trump knew that warp speed was a deliberate bioweapon campaign to kill off high testosterone Black and white male Americans in the United States, but primarily the Black population. They're going to call him a eugenicist. They're going to call him a Nazi. The biggest part of the Epstein file, one of the biggest parts of the Epstein files are the COVID files. It's in there. They dropped hints. They told you that Epstein and Bill Gates said, hey, we need to figure out how to get rid of all these poor people. Everyone knows in the United States who's at the very bottom because of their culture, not because of racism. It's Black people. Code for poor people is Black people. You can't say Black directly, so you got to say poor. That covers them. And they're trying to figure out a way to get rid of them. It's no coincidence that all your favorite Black rappers, athletes, comedians, politicians, they're all dropping like flies magically, and no one's really noticing. That's one of the biggest things in the Epstein files that's going to come out, and that's going to hurt Trump, because they're going to say that, well, he knew about it, even though he didn't. That's the reason why they took Trump out of office and put Biden in temporarily. Trump just didn't have a stomach for the amount of death that was going to be that was going to come over pushing the vaccine campaign. Biden and Kamala Harris have zero problem. They both have a high disdain for Blacks, and I mean, and it's justified. I mean, they've explained their reasoning. Urban jungles and super predators, and they stated their reasons why. People just didn't know they had the power to do something about it. Epstein, he did, and they did. So no, you really don't want, unless you hate Trump, you really don't want the rest of the files to come out, because it's not about a bunch of fake stories about having sex with kids. The craziest stuff in the Epstein files is the science. Everyone's ignoring the science because they're so worried about the sex. They're too busy having fever, wet dreams of Trump and kids. They're not even looking at they're not reading the files. Epstein was a master scientist, a master mathematician. He hired thousands of physicians, not physicians, but what is the? I'm drawing a word of it. Basically, scientists that study physics. He hired thousands of them that came from the Manhattan Project. It's all in the Epstein files. It's all in the Steve Bannon interview. That's what he was doing at Zorro Ranch. Zorro Ranch is in Santa Fe, close proximity to Los Alamos, also in New Mexico. After the Cold War, the Manhattan Project dismantled. All those scientists were going to still be in the area, but they lost their jobs. He brought them to Zorro Ranch, not to fuck kids, but because they were trying to create a technology that could predict the stock market. And then they figured out a lot of other things. They spent 15 years and no one ever talks about any of their scientific research. That should show you that there's way more to the Epstein stuff than some stories of some politicians and some kids. We're wasting way too much time on that distraction. That's why, unless you hate Trump and you want to see the Democrats push the gay agenda, you want them to push the trans shit on your kids, you want the borders to be open, if that's your goal, then yeah, beg for the Epstein files to come out right now. And that'll pretty much capitulate everything. Go for it. But if your priority is keeping our republic safe, secure, and moving forward with our agenda, then the rest of it is a distraction. There's really nothing we can do about it. They've already taken the shots. It's already in their system. They're dead already. They're just still alive right now, but you might as well mourn them ahead of time. And they're going to just dump that all on Trump, which is why it's no need for that Epstein, the rest of the files to come out, because that's all you're going to find out. They're already doing it. They're already saying it now. They're already saying, okay, I'm starting to see a lot of stuff about the vaccine. It's like they knew, they planned this, and obviously they did. But if the rest of the files come out, you're going to find out the rest of the details, and they're going to turn that and wrap it around and blame Trump. So no, that's why we don't want the rest of those files to come out.
Tabloid garbage in this committee today.
Reclaiming
And
money.
ma'am, one thing that I would tell you is that he is a special.
And I told you, blacks and gays. This lady is a black and gay. That I'm not wrong. That's the entire Democrat left. If you see someone who's white, who's on the left, they're gay. And then the blacks, they might not be gay, but they're black. It's just they're all one. It's all one thing, and it's all anti-American. However, because of our civil rights laws, you can't not allow them to be elected, even if they hate the country. And that's a blind spot that we have in our openness here in this country. We're going to have to shield our country from these threats. These people mean our country no good. They don't even have kids. They don't care about the future. They want to destroy this place now. And I prove that point when I do these videos and I give my evidence and I explain my stances and I give examples. So that's why people follow me and they watch my content. If you're watching my content now for the first time, if you're a new viewer, please subscribe to the channel. We're on 8 platforms right now. If you wouldn't mind coming over to YouTube, Rico Limbaugh, subscribing to the channel, I'll keep you up to date and I will be doing these stories all day. I have 4 other stories we're going to do today. So even when I end this live, we're going to go live 4 other times. I post the videos like 10 hours later, but you'll be here initially for the live. You can hit the bell. That way you can get a notification. A lot of the other content creators that I used to follow, a lot of them are sick now and dying from the vaccine. So because I didn't even take the test, I'm going to be here to make content in their stead. So if you want to, please subscribe to my channel. I'll try to fill their shoes and do the best that I can. But I like having these conversations. Everything, obviously, for me is going to be from a right-wing conservative perspective, an America's first perspective. I read the news. We go over all the stories. But of course, my takes there, I don't have any liberal stances. I'm not neutral. I don't think on anything. I'm not an ally of those groups on the other side. So, if you don't mind hearing perspectives from someone like myself, who are going to be opening and honest about them, subscribe to my channel and like the video.
Government employee who works for the White House. There are thousands of them in the.
No, they don't think men can get pregnant. They literally convince themselves that it is possible and they believe it. They don't just think it. They're not just pretending. They believe the bullshit and they think that something is wrong with you if you don't. Now, and that's a problem because they're telling kids that in kindergarten and they're confusing the kids. That's going to make it really hard for these kids to grow up and become normal functioning adults. And that's my whole problem with that agenda. That's my problem with those communities. That's my problem with the left in general. They literally lie and confuse kids. It's all about the kids. And Trump did not take the vaccine. We didn't see him take the vaccine. He had way too many alternatives for him to take something that was poisonous, that he knew was poisonous. That's why Trump is still here, but all your favorite celebrities are dying every day. You're not noticing all the actors. Remember, in California, we had access to the vaccine in 2020. while the rest of the country had to wait until third quarter 2021. We had it in December, November of 2020. Why do you think Dawson's Creek just died and all the other guys were just dying? All these crazy cancers coming out of nowhere for people in their 20s and 30s. And you got to think about it. Everyone got their initial cancer diagnosis in 2022. They just didn't say nothing because, well, there are people like me they kicked off the internet because I was telling people the dangers of the vax. And I was reading the data that came out from the NHS. I was reading the information. I was telling people, hey, they put in the paperwork, if anyone who takes this injection is likely going to have a false positive for HIV. My one question, which was, how do you know it's a false positive? Boom. They're kicking me off of Facebook. I lost 12 years of pictures and videos. They're kicking me off of Instagram, kicking me off of X. Then they kicked the president off, Alex Jones, Dale Bigtree, RFK Jr. The people who we've voted to bring back in now. Why do you think I'm able to have these conversations on the internet? I couldn't even mention this 2 years ago. Things have changed. So yeah, I mean, these are the things that I consider to be important because, well, they're going to be earth shattering for us in the coming months. Remember, 2026 is year 5. We're in year 5 of the campaign. We don't know what the future holds and what it does when it's inside the body of people that it's been there for 6 years, but we're going to find out.
Federal government.
And now it is notable that while he is firing Noem as secretary.
No, not 90. James Vanderbeek or whatever, he's 43. The rest of these actors that I'm talking about that I share on social media every day, they're in their 20s and 30s. Ray J is barely in his 40s and he's literally dying right now. All of these people have these exotic cancers and all these heart issues all of a sudden, not just myocarditis, but all types of other issues with their cardiovascular. The truth is, these diagnoses, we don't really know if they're even accurate. We know that doctors are saying these people are sick. They don't even know what to call this stuff. So they're just basically relating it to the closest thing that they can compare it to. But even they don't know. They don't know. You think it's leukemia, but that's just the closest thing that they can compare it to. It's exotic. It's novel. And they thought it was in remission. They were able to control it since 2022. All of a sudden, in 1 month, turbo, and you're gone. I have a rescue dog here right now because his owner took the vaccine, had a turbo cancer incident, and now he lives with me because they're gone. So it does happen, and we got to be mindful of it. The point is, blaming it on Trump and blaming it on warp speed, it's not going to change anything. It's just going to obstruct our agenda, distract us, and literally basically be a detriment to the country. That's why the rest of the files don't need to come out, because you guys are worried about the files thinking about kid and sex stuff. You guys are looking at the wrong thing. It's the science part in there that's going to be the problem, because they're going to lie and manipulate it and say, well, he must have known. That's all it's just the warp speed stuff they're going to blame on Trump. They're going to blame this whole, well, you guys wanted to kill off all the black people. They're going to say Trump was in on it when he wasn't. That's why it's such a big problem. And that's why those files don't need to all come out. They're going to release some more, but they're not going to release those. They can't. They absolutely cannot. We need another 2 years until the target demographic gets down from 13% to 3%. Once they're at 3%, then this can all come out. The protests will be minimal because, well, there won't be anybody left to protest.
Of DHS, he isn't completely getting rid of her, naming her to be the special envoy for the Shield of the Americas to take on counter narcotic.
Yes, your wife probably did die because she's liberal. The liberal agenda is a death agenda. The liberal agenda pushes abortion, which is death. The liberal agenda pushes divorce. It pushes no children. It pushes vaccinations and taking substances. It also pushes mutilation for children, where they cut off body parts in an attempt to convince you that you can change your gender when you cannot. I don't know if you guys understand what happens when you do that gender reassignment surgery. It doesn't work. You'll never be a new gender. But when they cut off pieces of your small intestines and they use it to create a fake vagine, and you get sepsis in your blood because of the fecal matter that seeps in, it's all equals to death. None of that equals to having children, building families, and living in America. It's the complete opposite of what this country was built on. You're trying to reinvent the wheel, and it's not going to work. Watering grass with Gatorade because you think Gatorade is superior to water because of propaganda is not going to work. The traditional way of life is the only way you can really live as a human. And when you try to break those norms, you die. So that is a part of it. So yes, you can attribute some of those, your wife's death. You can partly attribute that to just being liberal. There's nothing long-term as a human that's liberal. That's how you shorten your lifespan, not how you extend it.
In Latin and Central America and then throughout the Caribbean, this is not a job that existed.
Well, I don't think you'll be able to judge my literacy because I'm not reading anything besides your comments.
But unlike in his first term when he would just fire people and they'd leave.
No, when I came to the U.S., I didn't have to take the vaccines, and where my family came from, we don't believe in those.
The administration, this go around, he's doing that while not completely getting rid of them.
Well, I use the scientific method, therefore I am a scientist, because that's what's required. You don't need a lab coat and a degree to be a scientist. You just have to follow the scientific method.
So make sure that they don't speak out against him after the fact. So Donald Trump has actually done it. He just...
Adam, you're right. You do know both sides come together for wickedness. Those two sides are just one side. So if you're thinking Democrats and Republicans, they're one party. So that's a completely separate side. I'm an America first, make America great again. We're on a completely separate group. So we're on the opposite side of the Democrats and Republicans. You got to think of the Democrats and Republicans as one uniparty. We are separate from them. So we're on the other side. They're not on our side. We're not together with them. They have their own separate agenda.
Fired Kristi Noem, his Department of Homeland Security secretary. This is notable. It is his first cabinet secretary that he has fired here in his second term. And he says that he is replacing her with Oklahoma Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen.
There were rumors, there were grumblings that Kristi Noem was not doing her job properly.
The president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly, worked with OMB. Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That overwhelmingly
effective in your name recognition. I mean, I personally,
I don't get what the problem is. Did you want to see somebody else as the actress? You wanted who did you want? Angelina Jolie? You wanted her to be on the horse? Is that your issue? Is that Kristi Noem was the actress? I mean, I don't know. Was she paid? Was her price going to be less than hiring, I don't know, Zellweger or whatever to come up there and do the play the role? I mean, what's the actual issue here? Was it because they did not want her on the horse? Like what? This is all petty, distracting BS, and it's ridiculous.
Just
position. Now, did she get fired? I don't know. Maybe that's maybe a little more superfluous, but it does seem that Donald Trump decided to remove Kristi Noem from her post, putting her in another position and elevating another person into the position that she once held. Donald Trump seems to have a lot of positive things to say about Kristi Noem, but the fact still remains that she was ousted.
So the thing is, she wasn't fired per se. It looks bad as far as her being removed from her position, but she was more so demoted. She was moved into another position, removed from the spotlight. He's going to put someone else up there. But again, he should have stayed loyal to her. This could have been handled behind the scenes. It shouldn't have been handled in the public.
Roll the Fox News clip explaining a little more on this topic. Roll it.
Breaking news. This comes a day after a difficult couple of days on Capitol Hill in both the House and the Senate for Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary.
Claudette Oliver, you are incorrect, and that is not true. And there are plenty of people that come to this country without going through the typical channels. That's why we have an open, porous border, which is a problem. So obviously everybody didn't go through any of the stuff that you're naming. You're making that up. You're essentially lying, which I don't understand why, but you're wasting your time. It's not like we don't already know how this works here.
Secretary, she is being replaced. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen is now going to take over her job. The president making the announcement on Truth Social just a short time ago. He writes, quote, "I am pleased to announce that the highly respected United States Senator from the great state of Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullen, will become the United States Secretary of Homeland Security effective March 31st of this month, of this year. The current Secretary, Kristi Noem, who has served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, which is a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere that they're announcing on Saturday.
Well, it's a new position for something that might even have more power. So maybe she's being promoted to something better. It's a new job, Shield of America. I'll be honest, it might be a better opportunity for her. And there's going to be less people that are going to be able to criticize her. She'd probably have more protection. She'll be shielded herself. So this isn't necessarily a bad thing for her. And I think the guy who he's promoting, I think he used to be was he the guy that used to be the MMA fighter that called out the other guy that was a part of the press that was saying all this stuff about him on the internet? I think that's the same guy from Oklahoma. If that's the case, then, I mean, yeah, he's a fighter and he'll be able to handle his own when these press conferences get hostile.
Doral, Florida. President says, "I thank Kristi for her service at Homeland."
Oh, sorry, Claudette. We don't allow spamming, babe.
So this comes amid reports that the president was none too pleased about the advertising campaign money that came to light during these.
Do I think America is supposed to stand forever? To be honest, I don't think any nation has stood forever, but there are some that have lasted the test of time. To be honest, the society in Iran is one of the oldest on earth. There are societies that, unfortunately, because of the United States being an open society, it's impossible for it to last as long as it could if it stayed true to its ideals. Right now, because we're an open society, other nations can use techniques that convince our people that death is good, life is bad. There's a lot of people in this country that no longer believe in families. They don't want to have children. They don't want to get married. And without families, you don't have life. You don't have a country. You don't have a world. And that's the propaganda that's being put in place here in this country. We're going in the opposite direction. So I'm not sure how long we can stand without families. Other parts of the world, the reason they have a closed society is because family is important. Iran, millions of people there. Most of the women are married with kids. Same's going on in Russia, same in China. These are thriving countries that are going to survive the test of time. I don't understand. I don't know if our society would really have that option at the rate we're going.
Hearing, Sandra. And so just in the last 24 hours, we've heard a lot of rumors that Mark Wayne Mullen may be tapped for DHS. And now it appears the president has made that decision, and that's going to happen the end.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that'll pick oranges for $5. But the thing is, you're making a point for slave labor. I don't understand how you can live in the United States and be around all these black people, but be pro-slavery. I thought you hated slavery. Don't you tell all your black friends how you hate slavery? Why don't you go tell people that you believe in slavery? If you believe in slavery, say that. Be honest about it. If you're telling me, Rico, we need these illegals because they're going to work for slave wages, make your point. Because I remember in the 1800s, when you read the history books, that was the same point that was made by the Confederacy. Who's going to pick our cotton? Who's going to pick our oranges? Who's going to wipe our toilets? That's work for the slaves. You're making the exact same argument. No one else is going to work for slave labor. We need the slaves. I thought we outlawed slavery. I thought we didn't like slavery. So if you propose bringing back slavery, then okay, we'll keep the illegals. But you need to be honest and say it out loud. I want my slaves, and stand on it. And then we can go from there. Maybe we can come to a consensus. Personally, in my opinion, I see slavery as being a normal part of the human dynamic because it's too widespread around the world. There's 50 plus million slaves on earth right now in 2026. Every society has indentured servitudes or slavery. It's a thing around humans, and it's always has been, always will be. So because of that, I'm not necessarily against it. If you believe that slavery should be allowed here in the United States, so they can pick your oranges for $5 a day or week, a month, fine. Just stand on it. Don't tiptoe around and ask me roundabout questions. Announce how you want your slaves and you need your slaves, and then we'll maybe we can find a compromise. But be honest about your intentions. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Yeah, there was some reporting leading up to this that this could be the case.
I'm already fighting for Trump.
No confirmation had been made by the president himself until now, but there was reports of frustration inside the White House over some of the actions taken on the part of Kristi Noem. Looking at the announcement, though, and looking at the touting President Trump does of Mark Wayne McMillan's record 10 years in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Yeah, she's too valuable. And again, the gays and the blacks are extremely happy, especially the gay blacks, the ones in politics, the ones that are not. They see this as, the thing is this, they want to fuck your kids. They want access to your kids. Anything that can remove the Trump administration so that the Democrats can get back in office. And when the Democrats were in charge, like Biden, the waters are muddy around them having sexual access to children, and they weren't prosecuting people the way they are now. So, I mean, they even passed laws in California to protect pedophiles. So that's why I'm like, I don't know why you guys keep talking about the Epstein stuff. You actually have policies in place to protect Epstein and protect pedophiles in states like California. So you really don't care about the kids. You're just trying to find some dirt on Trump because you're a sicko. That's the reason why I don't respect it. And that's the reason why I'm not pushing for these Epstein files to come out. You're not reading them objectively to try to see about the science or find out what it was up to. You're just trying to find something bad about Trump so you can feel better about the fact that you're a creep that likes kids, or that you defend people that do like kids. You're just trying to feel better about yourself. Anyway, I'll be back on with another topic in about 20 minutes. Subscribe to the page, like the channel. You guys we got a bunch of other topics going on today. It's going to be a long day. This is on Friday, so a lot of people don't work on Friday. They don't do videos. There's no slow day under the Trump administration when it comes to news. So we have plenty of topics to talk about. I'll be back on in about 20 minutes. Remember, it's America first and America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.